Oakland Athletics baseball, opening week. Why not? Because it's Major League Baseball opening week too. We talk about Howard Terminal. That's right. And a plan that goes back 18 years, actually a little longer than that, to put a brand new Major League Baseball stadium at what is now called Howard Terminal at Port of Oakland. So, where are we right now? Well, for some time, the Athletics have wanted to go to Howard Terminal. In fact, that was the stated desire last year. And the mayor of Oakland, Mayor Libby Schaaf, said she wanted the A's at Howard Terminal. But then a funny thing happened on the way to the NFL annual meeting. And for some strange reason, between Oakland Mayor Libby Schaaf and Oakland Council Member Larry Reed, there was this desire to hold on to the possibility of the A's at the Coliseum rather than saying, hey, you know what? We're going to engineer it so that the Athletics get their home at Howard Terminal they always wanted, and will allow the National Football League, as Eric Grubman has stated, to buy the land that was for sale at the Oakland Coliseum. Simple, right? Well, this is Oakland. The bottom line is that the A's and I were for some time under the impression that Howard Terminal was not an attractive site because we didn't have redevelopment. But then California Governor Jerry Brown stepped in October of 2014, signed into law a new provision calling for enhanced industrial development financing zones. That's right. And those zones allow the use of basically a number of different powers and abilities allowed by original California redevelopment law, including, and most important, tax increment financing. Now, what is tax increment financing? To put it in lay terms, it's simply using property tax that's split among as many as 5 different taxing agencies: city, county, BART, EBMUD, and so on, collecting it, and a redevelopment agency, or in this case a special group or a special organization, collects that money and applies it to different objectives within a predetermined district, what we used to call a redevelopment area or a redevelopment project area. Now, in the case of Howard Terminal, that project area was described, and it still is described, in a 2010 economic impact study written by Gruen and Gruen and Associates for Let's Go Oakland, who was advocating for a new athletic stadium at Howard Terminal. Now, that zone basically comprises Jack London Square, and it consists of approximately 676,000, excuse me, I stand corrected. It consists of approximately, yeah, that's about right, $676 million in assessed value that can then be applied to tax increment financing. What does that leave? What's the bottom line over a 40-year bond period? It means as much as $370 million in tax increment revenue can be collected and applied to the area. That's right. So what does all that mean? It means that we can take part of that $370 million and apply it to Howard Terminal itself, to the estimated $150 million in required land prep and infrastructure preparation for a new baseball stadium there. So what kind of stadium are we talking about? Well, it just so happens I created another spreadsheet, a pro forma for this proposed stadium with tax increment financing so you can see the impact. And what I discovered is, first of all, that the baseball stadium we're talking about will be $500 million in construction. Howard Terminal, $150 million in required expenditure for land prep and infrastructure. Now, site cleanup and preparation, taking the crane off, that's the central part of the terminal, and toxic removal and so on. Some have said $90 million. So if you're looking for a ballpark figure, this $150 million is a good $40 million over what was pegged about 4 years ago, excuse me, not 4 years ago, but back in 2010, 7 years ago. Okay, but interestingly, It's the same number that wound up in the original Howard Terminal analysis that was published in 2000. Now, then we're talking about 400 units of hotels, 170,000 square feet of convention and meeting space, 150 luxury boxes, a naming rights agreement that I believe could snare about 200 million, and pair that with an additional 200 million in sponsorships. Now, the spreadsheet was done in such a way that I assumed 65% ticket sales. A lot of spreadsheets you read regarding stadiums, they have the ticket sales at 80% or 100%. I like to break mine. I want to see how well the financial structure is going to do at, say, 60 or 65%, because then we have an understanding of where the weaknesses are fiscally and where we can shore those up. For example, what percentages are going too much maybe to one operation as opposed to the other, and so on. But the bottom line is, what we come away with is an entire development that has a 2.6 to 1 revenue to debt ratio. That's right. So the debt coverage ratio is well over 2. That is 2 times the total amount of debt. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. And that's at, remember, a 65% rate of ticket sales and luxury box sales absorption. Not bad at all. So the bottom line is Howard Terminal is not only doable, but the reemergence of tax increment financing makes it more doable. And get this, in my spreadsheet, we set aside $85 million for affordable housing, that's right, schools, and security. So we can take that property tax revenue and concentrate it in the area in a way that we haven't been able to do for, well, if you like, 9 years in Oakland. In fact, if you consider that we started sort of winding down redevelopment activities around 2009, why don't we go a step further and say it's been 10 years since we've been able to concentrate property tax revenues in Oakland to solve our most pressing problems. The most pressing of all, as you know, affordable housing. So this is an exciting development, an exciting time, and I urge you to call Oakland Councilmember Lynette Gibson McElhaney at her office. This is her office number, 510-238-7003 for District 3, because that's her area. Again, 510-238-7003. Everyone wants this done, not just the A's, but a number of very prominent politicians and very prominent business leaders in Oakland and the San Francisco Bay Area want to see the Athletics get their dream home at Howard Terminal. We all do. We get them at Howard Terminal. We've got room for the NFL still at the Coliseum. Vegas is going to fall apart. And we stand ready. Subscribe to Zenny62 on YouTube.